Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the next installment of the Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club Westry Horne Lecture Series. Today, we will be bringing you entrepreneurs, how to maintain, establish, survive, and grow your business amidst a pandemic. I'm excited about the show that we have put together for you. This broadcast is going to be including some very key voices in the area of business who will provide insights and provide advice so that you can leverage the resources available to you to remain sustainable as a business during this economic downturn. Each year, through our scholarship and educational programs, the Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club helps to provide opportunities to local young people who wish to further their educational attainment beyond high school. We also host free seminars and workshops like this one to help educate and empower community members in key areas, including the unspoken truths of Black history, financial literacy, and health and wellness. To enhance the lives of the most vulnerable among us, the Frontiers also provide key mentorship programs for young people throughout our region. The Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club works alongside community members to fight for social and economic justice and equal human rights. Lastly, we provide scholarships to help deserving high schoolers pursue a college degree or professional certification. We are the Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club, and we stand for advancement through service. So thank you again for joining us today. It pleases me to bring to you, present to some, introduce to others, a colleague of mine, a fellow yoke fellow in this fight with the Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club, and his name is none other than Michael Pine. Welcome, Michael. Michael, thank you for your time today and all that you do, as always.
Yes, thank you, Yoke Fellow President Saphir Jenkins. And my role today is to help share with the audience the format, the protocol, and the donation request information for our program. As Saphir mentioned, we are a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 club. And so the format for today is going to be one of a Q&A. We have a distinguished panel that will be addressing concerns around entrepreneurship and business startup. And so we'll have a Q&A where you can submit your questions via the online chat, and we'll respond to it at the appropriate time. Also, I would just like to share with you that donations, you will see a banner across the bottom of the screen there where you can donate to our scholarship fund using Zelle, and the number is listed there. That is our treasurer, the Frontiers Plainfield Area Club treasurer, Jess Marshall. Or you can mail checks made payable to Plainfield Area Frontiers International, P.O. Box 428, Plainfield, New Jersey. Okay, so with that, I would like to turn it back over to Saphir, and we will get this underway. We do have a moderator that will be working with the panel today. And so I think my duty is completed. Thank you, Pierre.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it, as always. So everyone, as we move on into the next segment of today's broadcast, it gives me pleasure to bring to you an esteemed group of panelists. And the panel is comprised of three individuals whom I will name in just a moment. But just before we jump in and before we go any further, let's take this opportunity, as we always do, to pray, and then we'll move forward from there. So join us and join me as we pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come now thanking and praising you for this, the Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club, and all of the partners who work with us to bring about change and to make a difference in our communities and within those homes that we serve. We pray, Heavenly Father, that you would move on today, that you would be pleased with what we are doing, and that you would bless us for the sacrifices that are being made, such that we might empower those who are most vulnerable. We love you. We thank you for loving us. Have your way this day. henceforth and forevermore in the lives of these your people. In Christ's holy and matchless name, we pray these things. Amen. All right, so it is at this time that I will bring to you a panel of esteemed guests. The first panelist goes by the name of Jeff Dunn. He is the founder and executive director of the Incubator Incorporated slash Boss, which is the business one-stop shop. We also have Adrian Council. He is the publisher and chief executive officer at The Positive Community. And we have our moderator today, who is Andrea Woody, and she is the chief executive officer of AW Financial Solutions. Andrea is a seasoned accounting professional with over 20 years of experience. She started her business, AW Financial Solutions, in May of 2011. Her goal is to help individuals and small business owners with customized financial solutions. She is a successful business strategist who assists business owner clients with profit-focused strategies to achieve their business objectives. AW Financial Solutions stands on the principle that everyone deserves a financial plan regardless of income or financial situation. Join me as I welcome our moderator for today, Andrea Woody.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate that. Whenever I hear my bio
Indeed.
read, I feel like, who is that? Who's doing that? But I'm excited to really feel like that's no fluff. It's the real thing. It's really what I do day in and day out. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will turn this portion of the broadcast over to you. Thank you so much for all you do. And of course, we wish you continued success.
Thank you so much. All right, it's great to be here with my Frontiers brothers and sisters once again, and to be here talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is entrepreneurship. I'm very excited because I am always trying to get someone to start a business or to grow their business or just to improve their business. I'm always ready to tell someone, quit that day job. You don't need it. You can run your business full time. So if you want to talk to me about that, feel free to reach out. But anyway, I will have you quitting your job. So enjoying this entrepreneurship journey because it's wonderful. So I do want to just take a moment to let my other panelists here introduce themselves. I'd like to start with Mr. Jeffrey Dunn, the founder and executive director of the Incubator and the Business One Stop Shop. Can you just introduce yourself with a little more detail? Tell us about what you do on a day-to-day basis and how you help everybody in this entrepreneurship journey.
I pray. Okay, I pray. All right, so listen, I am a second generation entrepreneur. I stand on the shoulders of my family. We had a janitorial maintenance, food service, base management, labor intensified business where we were basically 8A certified. We were in business well over 26 years. Make a long story short, I was chief financial officer in that business. I was in it from the very beginning to the end. And through that, I was able to basically leverage the relationships to create a business incubator. A business incubator is somewhat of a rooming house for small businesses, sharing services, as well as sharing space. I have office space here in New Jersey, basically furnished and unfurnished warehouse space. I have like 3 buildings. One's a daycare, one's a car wash, and then one's a general building where it basically houses small businesses. But I'm also a business coach and consultant and trainer. I'm linked with Legal Shield, which basically ties in the reference of legal resource and identity theft. But the last thought is I'm tied in with Enterprise, which is a program which helps small businesses in regard to growth plans and really take them to sustainable growth. Not just growth where basically they're just self-employed, but sustainable growth where they have a business that can run itself in their absence. So that's an outstanding program. I can tell you more about that. Again, I served on as a board of directors, not board of advisors for the SBA, SBDC, as well as SCORE. And I am honored to be here in the fellowship with this great panel and to work with the Frontier.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Legal Shield, that's a great service. I actually had to use that one letter from an attorney service like that, and you can get things definitely straightened out. So I'm very familiar with that. So now we're going to move on to our other panelists here. Mr. Adrian Council, he's a publisher and CEO of the Positive Community magazine. I know he's got something exciting he's going to share with you all during our time together today. But for now, I just want him to take some time to introduce himself and just tell a little bit about what it is that he does on a day-to-day and how he supports our community.
Hi, I'm Adrian Council, and as it was said, I'm the publisher of the Positive Community and co-founder and publisher of the Positive Community magazine. It's a faith-based lifestyle publication that is distributed to over 250 churches in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area, as well as businesses and schools and community institutions. My journey into business ownership, we've been publishing now for 21 years, but my journey began in advertising sales and radio advertising sales. I started my career at a radio station in Rochester, New York, WDKX. And it was the only Black-owned radio station in the state of New York at the time, other than WBLS and Inner City Broadcasting, which I went to, and I was there for 20 years, 10 years as a account executive, and another 10 years as a general sales manager. My co-founder, Gene Nash Wells, and I noticed that there was a void in this media-dominated society that we have today. There's a void for a medium that connects the African-American faith community to the community at large. And so we started the Positive Community magazine. And we come out monthly, and we have a website, thepositivecommunity.com, and we'll certainly talk about more of that later. But as the publisher of the magazine, we do a lot of sales and also a lot of community relations. But just like the Frontiers International, the catchphrase and the motto is service with us. I think that it's important that we all serve our communities and service our customers and grow our businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. Adrian, thank you so much for that introduction. And I'm excited for you to share more details on what you have coming up a little later in our time together. So we're going to get right into our discussion. I feel like my introduction basically told, what I do with my support with entrepreneurship, with business owners and personal finances. But I want to go right into this discussion because I feel like there's a wealth of information between the three of us. And we can do a lot to support the people who are watching, the people who catch our replay. And, the topic today is entrepreneurs establishing, surviving, and growing your business during a pandemic. So our first section, we're going to kind of break this up into the three sections: establish, survive, and grow. So the first thing I want to do is touch on something that Adrian said. You said that sales is a big thing in business. Is any business, you have to sell your services and your products and things like that. But during this pandemic, the churches, since they're a big resource of where it is that you distribute your publication, we were all shut down for quite a while, and some of us are still on virtual service every Sunday. So right here in the beginning, how did you manage during the time with those challenges? I'm sure those were challenges. And what are you doing now that we're opening back up? Talk a little bit about that. And the churches are such a big support in our community and such a first point for our backbone. So I appreciate that so much.
So we as a publication, we distribute to churches because churches subscribe to our publication in bulk. So say, like, for example, Shiloh Baptist Church in Plainfield will purchase more than maybe 100 or 200 copies of our magazine a month, as well as many other congregations around the area. So when the churches shut down, it certainly caused concern, and there was a paradigm shift in the way that we've been doing business, because traditionally what we do is we deliver the publications on the Sunday that the churches, on the second Sunday of the month. So the churches would be open and they would be received by the ushers or the deacons, and then they would be distributed on the same day. And when the churches closed with the pandemic, we found, number one, if you turn to any of our publications, on page 7, we have what we call the Positive Community's Great Roll Call to Progress. And it's a partial listing of all of the churches that are receiving, that are subscribing for bulk distribution. What's happened is that we've had to adapt, and as we still deliver, and we're very blessed that, first of all, I should say that 90% of our roll call member churches continue to be a part of that roll call. And that the shift is that many of the congregations found other ways to get that publication in the hands of their congregation members. And number two is that we have to adapt to an online universe. So what we've been able to successfully do is link our publication and is to distribute links to various groups and organizations, and they send them out to their people. Like, for example, the African American Chamber of Commerce, the First Baptist at Lincoln Gardens. Then you have the General Baptist Convention of New Jersey, Empire Baptist Convention of New York, Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. So we found multiple vehicles for distributing the product. So actually we're reaching more people than we did than from the beginning, and also it spurred us on to begin to do more with digital. If you go online to our positivecommunity.com, thepositivecommunity.com, you'll find that what we have created is an alternate space in media for our people. In other words, with the positive community, it's not all about the bad news and everything that's happening, the crime and the violence and so on and so forth, but it's about progress. It's about seeing our people move forward and celebrating not only the celebrities and the pastors and the leaders of the faith community, but also the deacons and the nurses auxiliaries and various other entities within the church. And it also gives us a glimpse of what various other congregations are doing, and a lot of good things have happened.
Yes,
but we have been
absolutely.
able to survive this pandemic through increased distribution and also expanding on the digital content platform.
That's an exceptional point that you just made, and it's something that I was going to discuss going further on into our conversation about shifting to the online presence, having an online presence and being able to distribute in that way. So Jeffrey, thinking about some of the things that Adrian has talked about, just as far as being able to make a shift and shift to the online, a lot of your space and things like that is live and in person. How quickly are you still in the process of bringing people back in, or supporting people for them to be able to come in live? Or how did you establish quickly people be able to come back in and run their businesses at their locations and things like that?
Well, when I did the Enterprise program, the Streetwise MBA program in Newark, the COVID challenge came at us right in the beginning. We had one session, and immediately we had to make a decision: shut down or pivot. And we pivot, and we basically did our program online. And normally we have like a 3-hour program. We sliced it in two and made it 2 1.5-hour programs. It was easier. It was practical. And what we did is we really brought the CEOs together and say, hey, This is not a time for you to be by yourself. You really have the blessing of working in this program and brainstorming with other CEOs in reference to how to ride this wave, this tsunami. And we did it very well. And what we did was we had our class, but we had CEO groups. And the CEO groups, we basically adapted and made the mindset that we were going to make each other part of our board of advisors. You follow me, Andrea? You follow what I'm saying? And my thing is basically by having this board of advisors, we were able to share and talk and brainstorm and break through a lot of the challenges that many people were doing all by themselves. So they had the blessing of this this national nonprofit. They had the resources of Invest Newark, the economic development arm of the city of Newark, and they had each other.
Right.
And what happened is, believe it or not, the businesses really grew during this valley, this dark time. Because why? Because we leveraged, like Adrian said, we had leveraged the cyber tools. We had made ourselves more visible in our cyber presence. We strengthened our social media. We paid attention to the details on our website. And then we talked to each other in reference to best practices. Okay, we accessed and shared all of the various programs, and because I knew some, Invest Newark knew some, as well as Enterprise knew some, knew about various programs, and we shared what was happening with EDA, SBA, SBDC, SCORE, PTAC, because there was a lot of information, and I may knew 1 or 2, 3 or 4, but a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and we had a whole menu of resources. So as I said, yeah, so collectively and individually, we grew as businesses rather than shrunk. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point that you've made, just as far as coming together and being supportive and really taking the time to shift in the new environment that we found. It's actually very interesting because I have found that several of my clients, because they were able to shift to the online and virtual environment pretty quickly, and myself included, I had already been doing a lot of my client meetings and things like that virtually or online or over the phone. So it was pretty easy for me to shift into that new, that new situation kind of once I got my feet back on the ground, because it was really pretty shocking. But I really want to kind of take the time to talk about the people who maybe started a business or considering starting a business, especially during this time, because what I'm hearing across the board here is online, being able to do virtual, being able to reach people through the social media and things like that is so important. So, what advice would you give to someone who's considering starting up? You guys have been in the business for a long time, and you guys have probably learned so many tricks and so many different things and lessons. What would you say to a new person who's considering starting a business, how they should establish themselves? Maybe give 2 points on what you would suggest to them for starting a business during this time.
If I may interject before we go there, one of the things, because we're online and because we're using the various resources of social media and again the cyber landscape, it is oh so important that you have tools to protect you, such as identity theft, as well as monitoring, so you know when somebody is using your identity, accessing your credit cards, tapping into your bank account. Legal Shield has that resource. I could talk about that later, but I say to you that you need to have that. Because why? Because you on more than you ever been before. You're buying more, you're selling more, and you have more information. You need to protect yourself in that area. But one of the things I want to turn over, and I want to listen to Adrian. He and I have been fellowshipping for how long? At least more than a few years. We say more than a couple decades. All right.
Could be 20 years. Yeah.
He's older than me.
Yes, let's stay focused on what we're saying. We're speaking to our
and I'm
new
child
people.
prodigy.
Okay, we're speaking to our new people.
So in regard to starting a business, one of the key things I'll say is all about the fellowship. It's all about iron sharpening iron. The key thing I can say that will save you a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money. Adrian and I are second generation, and we're blessed to be and stand on the shoulders of our family. But those who are not tied into a family that has been in business, I would say find somebody in your industry who is the best at what they do. Do your daggone homework and find out who is already doing what you want to do. Stop acting like you just invented it. You did not invent accounting. You did not invent legal. You did not invent business consulting or any other many of services. What you have found is that you're walking into an industry. Find somebody who's already there, who's doing it very well, and become their right hand. Me and this young man right here are blessed to have been the right hands of our fathers, okay? But bottom line is, if you don't have an uncle, if you don't have a father, you don't have a grandfather, find the elder or find someone in your industry. Now, someone say, well, how do I find that? Well, that's a good question. First thing you need to do, if you really are serious about your business, you need to know the association that's tied to your business nationally. And then tie in with them and find out who the best is and who's doing the best. And then tie in with them, because the best education you could get is working right under somebody who is at the top of their game. And make a long story short, with that, you can take it to the next level and really learn a whole lot. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to, not tell you not to get your training, not to get your education, not to get the certification. What I'm trying to say is, if you couple that with the fellowship and the mentorship and apprentice opportunity, it will take you a long way and save you a whole lot of money.
Absolutely. So I'm hearing from you that connection, using your network, learning from the people who've already gone before you. I'm definitely I would say my father did not have the same kind of business that I had, but he was definitely on the entrepreneurship journey. When I was a little girl, I saw him running his own landscaping, cleaning out houses, things like that. And, just that I'm first generation, I guess, in the financial field. But I do know that referrals, networking, connecting with people who can give you the information, because none of us have created any of these paths that we're on. We are on paths that have already been laid out. So finding somebody who really can give you some of the information to keep you from making the errors that maybe you would make on your own. So connecting with your network, getting a mentor, connecting with people in your family who may have businesses, friends. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that your network is definitely your net worth, because connecting with people. And I was going to say to you, National Association of Black Accountants, you were talking about those national organizations. That definitely helped and supported me through my career. So I appreciate that point that you made. The Black MBAs, all kinds of organizations. You have your CPA organizations. I'm quite sure there are industry organizations you can belong to for publishing and learning how to publish, all kinds of resources out there. So Adrian, I'm going to turn it over to you for you to give us your best 2 tips maybe about somebody who's looking to start a business right now in these days.
I think that the primary focus for me has always been sales. And, so many of us say we want to go into business and we want to open up a business and make some money, generate some cash, and so on and so forth. It's so vital to understand the value of the vocation of sales. Sales is the core of any business enterprise in existence. And so I think that we need to look at entrepreneurship, number one, in a more humble way. It's not a matter of you opening up a business and you being smarter than the people that you serve. Well, I got a business, so everybody's going to come and do business with me. Or you're not smarter than your customers. You're not necessarily smarter than your suppliers. It's a learning, like Jeff said, it's a learning process. I too, as Jeff was saying, I come from an entrepreneurial background. When I was growing up, my father and mother, they met in Harlem. My father went out to, we all went out to Long Island, and he opened up a chain of pool rooms and social clubs and restaurants and the like. And I was, by the time I was 9 years old, I had a shoe shine stand built in my father's store. I used to have to service my clients, purchase my supplies, and pay rent on my stand. And by the time I was 16, I was actually running his flagship business. So But the thing is that, again, sales is a vocation that we need to look at the fundamentals. It's the fundamental of the business. And we have to all see ourselves as salespeople first. We have to have, what do they say? When the door of opportunity opens, you got to have something to sell. And
That's
so, my suggestion is number one is I'm in the culture business with publishing a magazine, so I have to be aware of who my market is and their peculiarities, but also I have to have an awareness of who I am and some sense of history. So there's a lot of the intangibles that I think, as a community of people, that some tend to not take as serious. But it's not a matter of, Jeff, it's not a matter of just access to capital. It's not a matter of just getting loans, but it's a matter of how you treat people. It's a matter of service. It's a matter of, service and sales and collections and building a business on fundamentals. My dad had a sixth grade education and ended up opening a chain of stores on Long Island. So it's about the fundamentals. It's about a desire to move forward, but not at the expense of an unfortunate loser. But you take everybody with you. I don't know if that helped to explain it a little
No, I
better.
understand what you're saying. It's like when they say rising tide lifts all boats. We want everybody to have an
Right.
opportunity to rise up and go to another level. So when you're mentioning about sales, I heard two great things that you said, a lot of great things, but two things that stand out to me. One is about sales, and the other is about sales. When you first started a business, I remember I joined a mentorship, a pretty hefty price, pretty hefty price, a mastermind, and the leader of this organization said to everyone, "No, you're not going to say you're afraid of marketing. You're not going to say you're afraid of sales. You're going to have to be a marketer who does financial planning. You're going to have to be a salesperson who does publishing. It wasn't just you're going to get in here and just be in your expertise only, but you're going to have to learn how to do those sales and also to market your business so that you can have what we call the flow into your business. And that includes creating products and services to put out to market, letting people know about it, which is the sales part of it, and then getting paid, which is where your revenue comes from. That's actually a method that I teach in my to my clients and in business. That if you have those three flowing into your business, a way to get your clients, to deliver your service, and to also get paid. Those are going to keep your business functioning. So having those three keys to me are so important. The sales part is something that none of us can avoid in business. So anyone who's thinking about starting a business, just know that whatever your business is, fill in the blank. You will be a marketer or salesperson who does dot 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 because you're going to have to be the first salesperson in your business. Okay. So I want to move on to our next section, which is surviving. I think we've touched on a lot of that, and it sounds to me like a lot of businesses and people that you all have been connected with, and same with me, have actually thrived in this business. Although all during this pandemic, I should say, but all those positive stories and all the great things that you hear people made it through because they were able to pivot and make that big shift over to the virtual world and the online world. But what about the people who relied on public support, being able to go to their store every day? People who couldn't get online because maybe they were not technically savvy, So survival was was successful for the people who were able to pivot onto the online and virtual. But what about the people who were struggling? Have you heard stories about that, or people who were working to try to get these loans that they had out here, or just so that they could survive and feed their family. Who wants to touch on really the people who were working to survive during this pandemic and how they did it, because it wasn't easy for everyone.
Well, what I'll tell you is this: is the contacts and the people that I talk to, those who had the greatest challenges, and this is a lesson. And Sister Woody, you can basically verify this. A lot of the small businesses were not ready for the assistance that was there. Why? Because they didn't have their books in order. Why? Because they didn't have their financial statements done. Why? Because they didn't file their taxes. Why? Because their paper and their administration was in order. So they had to get them in order. They had to get the accountant. They had to do the taxes. They had to do the financial statements. And because they were not current with that, some of them missed the boat, missed the opportunity. The door was shut. The time has expired. The EDA program was no good to them. The SBA loans were no good to them. The various city and county and state programs were good, because why? The first thing they ask for is what, Sister Woody? They ask for, where's your financial statements? Where's your tax returns? And basically, have you done it in at least, they even gave you, said, oh, you don't have to have last year, but you have to have at least the year before that. If you don't have the 2 years, then we can't help you. And that was a challenge. What good is it for you to have all these programs if you can't even go to first base because you do not have even the documentation that says that you're in business, or or some of you are doing you're paying your people cash. You don't have a payroll, so you couldn't do the PPP. Okay,
Sure.
So I'm trying to say to you is a lot of them that had the greatest challenge are the ones who were not prepared as businesses, which is the first thing, and that is the documentation, the administration, and the record keeping. But I'm talking outside my lane. That's your lane, Sister Woody.
No, you're right on point there. That is my lane, absolutely. And I did run into a lot of people who were not prepared because they did not have their business structure filed with the state of New Jersey, so they couldn't qualify for some of the loans and things. Even if you're a sole proprietor, you still have to have some kind of registration with the state in order to qualify for a lot of the government loans and things that they had, because they want to make sure that you're an established business. So it's very important to have your paperwork. And something else that you touched on as far as the tax returns, and I always tell people this, I've been doing taxes for longer than I care to admit, but one of the things that I tell my business owners is that you should not be afraid of profit. Profit is a good thing in your business. It's something that, keeps you out of struggle when you do face challenges like this. So a lot of times people want to file a tax return that shows losses. And what I found is that people who were applying for some of the loans in order for them to keep their business going, they were reporting so many losses in the previous years that they couldn't establish that they had lost anything. So I say to people, pay your fair share of taxes, yes. Make sure that you get a professional to work with you for your starting. When you start up your business, a lot of the banks will do a registration for you so that you can get registered with your EIN and things like that. But when you're trying to establish the type of business that you should have, whether it should be an LLC or whether you should incorporate, a lot of times there's a formula that goes with which one of those entities you should actually file. So I say that you should go to someone who can professionally go through your business plan with you, which is so important. I'm going to get to that in a moment, but there's so many things that you need to lay down as your foundation so that not only you can be running an efficient business by having your EIN, having your registration with federal and state, also being able to establish a payroll so that you're not just paying cash out of pocket, because those are creating holes in your business as well. Because a lot of times when you pay a cash payroll, you're not able to take the deductions, because how do you prove it's cash? You have to also give 1099s to them. Those are deductions that you take in your business. There's all sorts of things that we miss. I will say we miss as business owners because we don't establish and set up the things properly. There are many people out here that are taking advantage of these services. For example, our former president filed in bankruptcy. He did everything he could do to establish his wealth and not pay taxes on it. All of that is still being fleshed out. But he knows the laws. He knows the things. He has the attorneys that are telling him what needs to be done. But you best believe that he had all of his registrations and things in order. So when it was time for him to pull any money or file his paperwork, that it was done. So I say to our community out there, if you're looking to establish a business, please do it legitimately. File it with the state. Track all of your income. Track all of your expenses that you're entitled to take. And don't be afraid to be successful. Because when you're filing losses on your tax returns, instead of filing profits and paying your fair share of taxes, I'm not encouraging paying over what you should pay. But when you pull back and cut corners on things like that, that is not how you build wealth. That is not how you have a successful business. You want a profitable business. You want your bottom line to be a positive and not a negative. I'm going to turn over. I'm on my soapbox now, Jeff. You shouldn't have gave that one to me. But
but one thing I want to say to you, and I want to hear from Adrian, I want to get his point of view, especially in regard to the church community, which I know they're having their challenges. One of the things you do not cut or you do not go on the cheap, you make sure you have the right professionals. Don't be trying to get the cheapest price or the person who's going to give you the biggest refund or the person who's going to give you the cheapest price as far as bookkeeping accountant. You do not go on the cheap. Also, you do not lie to your accountant. You do not lie to your banker. You do not lie to your insurance person. One of the things I was talking to Adrian that I'm blessed with is my family had went through $2 million loans, and we had dealt with professionals. We had the same accountant, the same law firm, the same insurance, the same banker. And because we had established relationships, these were not the cheapest, these were not the most expensive. These were people who were credible, who we trust, who trusted us, and who knew each other. And it's because of that we were able to weather many of the storms. And I was able to even leverage that. And I'm talking about relationships that go 20 and 30 years back, because we kept relationships. And again, you want somebody who has the credentials, you want somebody that has the character, somebody who has the integrity, and somebody who is in your circles and who you can trust, because your accountant and your insurance and your banker and your lawyer has very sensitive information. And if you don't trust them, you're in trouble. And you do not have the luxury of shopping every year for the cheap price, because, you will pay for that nickel and dime.
right.
You know, I'm preaching to the choir.
Right.
I just want to add to that, that has been key to us in our survival. Part of our survival over the recent months is that, we were able to apply for the PPPs and various grants, so on and so forth, which kind of served as a bridge during the challenging times. It is so important that all of those things are taken into consideration as you do business. You have to have your fortification, lawyer, accountant, people who do your billing and invoices and all of that stuff is very, very important that part is taken care of. The other part is, again, sales and service. When we started this business, the Positive Community Corporation began in 2000. We published our first issue of the magazine in September of 2000, and we've been going ever since. We didn't do this, and we didn't come into this with a bunch of money or a bunch of loans. What we did, my business partner, Gene Wells, and myself, we had a bank of goodwill to draw from. Over the years, we did good business with people. And so I can say that when we started our publication, it was the key retailers in the Black community, in the African American community, that came out in support of us. We had Dick Gidron Cadillac up in the Bronx, Dick Gidron Cadillac and Ford. We had Carver Federal Savings Bank in Harlem, and we had City National Bank. They bought advertising. They didn't give us money. They bought ads. The Gidron family, they purchased the back page of our magazine for years. And so again, what happens is that it's about quality relationships, and we should never move away from the value of quality relationships. One of these things that we're dealing with in this digital world is that everything is about metrics. It's about reach, about metrics, about quantitative numbers. At the end of the day, it is important that you have numbers and that you reach people. But I believe, and this is what our business is built on, the values of our business is the qualitative relationship. Love is a qualitative experience. Friendship is a qualitative experience. Your religion, your faith is a qualitative experience. Let no one downplay that as a value. Our magazine, no, we don't reach the numbers that say the popular radio stations in New York reach. We don't reach the Hot 97's numbers. We don't reach those BLS numbers. But I can guarantee you this: we have a qualitative relationship with our community that's unparalleled and unmatched. And that has value. And again, in a media dominated society that we're in, I think that it's important that African American, that our community know the value of your own media telling your own story on your own terms. So, and being able to interpret who you represent to the corporate and the advertising community is a very much a value. But again, it comes back to sales. And so that's the kind of bridge that we have been able to help us overcome the challenges.
Yes. So I absolutely hear you both on those points that you made. I started to say, when you're talking about going for services that give you the discounts and things like that, my grandmother used to always say, you get what you pay for. So sometimes going for those things that are low price and discounts and things like that, you get exactly what you pay for, discounted services. Another thing that I want to touch on. Another thing I want to pull out from what you said, Adrian, is about service. You mentioned that earlier. Something that I always have in my business struggled with, honestly, is comparing the dollars to the services and things that I provide to my clients. Because and I always tell the story about when I first started my business, I had a friend who said that I wasn't a shark, I was too soft to be in business, like I was going to have a hard time. And the truth is that he was right, because in the business that I'm in, I'm so focused on trying to help people to turn around what their situation is, because I know the importance of being able to control your own finances and being able to know where your money stands, know where your metrics and things are in your business, in order to live the life that you're trying to live and to establish yourself, and the control and the freedom that comes along with being able to do those things. But however, I feel like I did catch the importance of service, that it's not just about how much money you can make. It's not just about WBLS numbers or Hot 97 numbers. It's about the impact that you give, the quality of service and the quality of information that you get out. Especially these days with the media constantly feeding us things that may not be so positive. Early on in the pandemic, it was like you couldn't take it. You just had to turn the news off. Because if you sat there and looked at it all day, you would have been on a suicide hotline, or you would have been definitely calling your therapist to see, are you all taking virtual appointments? Because, the media has such a large impact on our communities, on our day-to-day life. My daughter, she's little, but she hears everything. I try to turn the news off or turn things off because I don't want those things feeding into her. I'd rather her have positive things. So back to service. When you're talking about running a successful business, being a quality service to the people in the community, like I definitely try to, and it's proven in the business. I've been in business for 10 years. And when I say that my clients are truly family, and they're not just clients, that we have relationships that we've built over time, and they are my support system with referring other clients to me. They've been my top money maker, but it's because of the relationship that I have with them. And even when, you know, we falter sometimes, having those long-standing relationships are so important. Like you're saying, having the relationship with the banks and things like that that you had when we did hit this pandemic, having those long-standing relationships are so important, because you don't want to try to go see someone when you need the money. You want to still be talking to them when you don't need it, right? Being able to, you know, like you don't like it's like having great credit. It's people don't think about how important it is to have great credit until they're going to buy a house or going to buy a car or trying to get some kind of loan or funding. But you should be establishing those relationships with your credit, with your community, with your bankers, with your clients, with anyone that you can be in contact with, because those relationships are your resources. So I'm going to shift right into the growing part, because I feel like we've touched on so many things that are so important. But in this atmosphere, when you're growing, being able to pivot into those online and virtual situations have been so important. Let's talk about investing in your business as you're trying to grow. So, for me, I have invested in lots of coaching, mentoring, hiring people who have the expertise to do the things that I don't necessarily have. So, when you're thinking about growing, for me, it is about an investment. And as you know, in sustaining yourself over time, you know, we're at a statistic now where they say that most businesses fail in their first year. At the 5 year point, they're really just only about 40% who are truly profitable. The other 60% is just basically living like a paycheck to paycheck in their business. They're just barely surviving, just enough to pay the bills, or they're living in the negative. So, what would you say as far as investing in your business? And then I just want to say at the 10 year mark, businesses still fail because they don't know what it is takes to grow and scale and leverage their relationships and the resources that should be available to them after being in business for so long. So let's talk a little bit about investing in your business, growing your business, and you know, beyond establishing those relationships. How do you keep those relationships going? How do you connect with the right people?
That's a very good question. Again, when I told you about the Enterprise training program, their thing is not so much the business plan. The business plan does have value, but you really need a growth plan, which is different. And the growth plan is basically talking about where you're going, how you're going to get there, what is the sustainable components that keep you there. One of the key things that a lot of people need to understand right from the gate: what is your break even? What's your break even? How much money are you supposed to make every day to keep above water? Okay. The other part is that many of the CEOs, many of the business owners know their trade, but do not have a firm handle on the business of business. The financial part, the administrative part, the filing part, they basically leave that to the CPA, leave that to the accountant, leave that to the tax person. So when they talk to the banker, the banker says, so what is your ratios and what is your balance sheet? And he's like, I don't know. And because he doesn't know the terms. And one of the things that I'm going to be rolling out soon is a workshop that I'm working with my friend Hudson with the tax doctor in reference to teaching entrepreneurs and CEOs and owners of businesses financial management for non-financial managers, teaching you the vocabulary necessary to have a decent conversation with your banker, with your accountant, with your loan officer, okay, your contract officer. These terms and this vocabulary is necessary. You need to know about ratios. You need to know about your cash flow. You need to know about your P&L. You need to know about your balance sheet and all the stuff that lies in between. A lot of people say, well, my accountant handles that. No. So the first thing the banker is going to say is, do you know? Don't tell me your accountant knows, because if you don't know, if you don't have a handle, then you really don't have a handle on your business. What's going to be required is for you to know where you are before you can truly strategically plan where you're going. So I'm trying to keep it simple, but that is, from my point of view, vital knowledge necessary to take you to the next level.
That's simply put, I'll just say, know your numbers. Know your numbers. That's so important. Adrian, what do you?
Hold on, but before I go there, Adrian, I want to say this. But here's the key thing: don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself in reference to your numbers. Don't lie about your business. I mean, don't lie to yourself. Be realistic. And one of the key things, everybody can't afford a CFO. Everybody can't afford an accountant within this app. But your financial people that you do talk to, vital. They need to be able to tell you the bad news so that you can hear it when you need to hear it, not when you're in a good mood. You follow me? Because again, when your accountant says you need to cut here, you have a tax liability there, you have a major shortfall here, you need to be able to hear. And if they don't have a relationship with you or they're intimidated by you to tell you the bad news, you're not going to get the news that you need to hear until what? It's too late.
Too late. Absolutely. You want to be truthful with yourself, truthful with the people who are supporting you. You want to also understand the numbers and the details of your business and trust them because they really do tell the whole story.
Amen.
Adrian, what did you want to say as far as?
No, I can't agree with that more. That's so valuable and so important, and also understanding the reality of where we are in this marketplace today. One of the things that I think that we should be sensitive to is that things have changed in the last 20 to 30 years in doing business. One of those changes is that, 20, 30 years ago, it was a black and white country. Today, it's multicultural, it's diverse, and we're dealing in a universe of a new reality, a new financial reality. Now, when you deal with minorities, it's not only African Americans, but it's Asian, it's women, it's LGBTQ, it's various other ethnic groups, Latinos, and so sometimes, particularly as it relates to Black-owned media, we find ourselves sitting at the back of a new line, So as opposed to minority set-asides, what happens is that you become indistinguishable from everybody else. So it's very, very important, number one, to deal with the realities of your business. You can't be out here acting like you're making money when you're not. You have to know the fundamentals of what's going to keep you alive. And you also have to keep a focus on bringing money in. It's sales. Again, it's sales. That's where the investment is. With us, also, we realize for the Positive Community Corporation that we have to expand and broaden and create an alternate space, because you have a lot of other media companies that will say, hey, we reach Black people, we reach them, and man, we got the numbers to show it. So you have to distinguish who you are and what you are to your community and the services that you provide that are unique for your advertisers. So it's important. So what we've done is that we're streaming music. You go to thepositivecommunity.com, you're going to hear the best music ever in the New York market. It's Positive Community Radio we created. We're doing social media, as Jeff was saying. We do social media. We go online. You can find the magazine, turn the pages to it. Earlier this week, I was on a panel discussion about that print with a group of publishers. That print is now turning to digital. And, there's a reality here. I was in Harlem about 9 months ago, and I was waiting for a friend coming out of the Schomburg, and I went across the street because the Harlem Hospital was there, and there was the newsstand. I said, well, let me go by and Amsterdam News. I went to the newsstand, and they're selling potato chips and soda. What do you mean, no papers? So, you have a situation where how you're distributing your product has just absolutely changed. However,
True.
I have to say, as a publisher of a magazine, The Positive Community, people will go online and read your product, and they'll go to the website, they'll check out the link to the publication, they'll turn the pages, but they won't go back to it again. You see, this is the product that we put out. Right. There it is. That's our latest issue of the magazine. Mm-hmm. You have to have, first of all, a quality product. What normally happens is, Jeff, people will read this magazine. It'll take them a week. They'll just put it on their nightstand. They'll put it in the bathroom and put it on the coffee table. And every once in a while, they'll pick it up and they'll read, hey, there's so-and-so and so-and-so. So there's more of an emotional relationship here. And we have to build on what works for us on our terms, not on, I was telling Jeff yesterday, Jeff and I were walking, and we said, in our conversation, I said, listen, me and Jeff can't go to Chinatown, open up a Chinese restaurant with the promise that we're going to sell the best Chinese food to Chinese people. Doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So we have to know what we have, and we have to play on delivering the best of it. So no, I'm not going to go and start a business and not take into considerations the things that you need to keep your business going, but you also have to present a quality product. Whether it's a service or a product, it's got to be quality.
If I may add to what Adrian also pointed out, there is a study called Nielsen's African American Consumer Study. This is 219, but there's one for 220. You can go online. Nielsen's African American Consumer Study is about 30, 40 pages, and it summarizes the buying and spending capacity and habits of African Americans. We're spending $1.4 trillion, just us. Not other minorities, not other groups, just African Americans. And what we are having an issue with is that we're allowing other cultures to know our spending habits and our, consumer habits better than we do. If we were just to capture our own spending, we would all do very well. The other thing is, I want to answer some of these questions that Michael and John Brickley's pointing out. I want to point out. Okay, well then, Adrian, I think one of the things they're asking, and you're the one that is explaining, is what is the difference? Because many people confuse the two between sales and marketing. They're related, but they're not the same. Adrian, why don't you break that down for everybody? Because that's your thing. That's your lane.
We're gonna do a Q&A. Okay, well, just one moment. We are gonna go to the Q&A that we've been popping into the chat. But just go ahead and just explain about the difference between sales and marketing, and then we're going to get to the questions.
Cool.
Okay, well, marketing is more or less how you present yourself to the community at large. What is the positive community? What does the positive community stand for? And the ability to interpret that to your target market. First of all, the fundamental thing is you got to appeal to your market. You don't start a business in media just to appeal to the advertiser. You got to appeal to your market. There is a reason why 90% of our roll call members continue, even with churches closed, continue to pay for the bulk delivery and take it upon themselves to distribute it. It's because they are a part of the marketing mix. Now, selling, I believe, simply said, is about the art of getting along. You're going to have to find, when you make the calls and you tell the story about your product, you also have to take into consideration the people that you're talking to. People want to feel as though you care. In the selling process, that has to be paramount, because you should care, ideally, about the people you're doing business with.
True.
Anybody that invests with us, I want them to win. See, we have to move away from an age where winning has to be at the expense of an unfortunate loser. Everybody can win. Everybody can play. And let me tell you what I believe the secret to American business in the future is. I'll tell you. It's profit motive augmented by a service motive. In other words, yes, you can serve your community and you can prosper, but you have to, why does it all have to be about your income, when it can also be that, look, we're about positive change here at our publication, at our media business. It's positive change. So yes, we care about the progress of our children and the integrity of our African-American culture, values, and traditions. And again, it's not at the expense of anybody else, but this is what we have. And the more that you know who you are and what you represent, the more you can deal with a diverse group of people, of clients and advertisers from all over, because you take a sincere interest in what they're about. And so that's a thing that I believe that's so important, is finding the key that unlocks the door and taking the emphasis off of, well, they didn't buy me because they're racist, and they didn't buy me because they're white supremacists or whatever, man. You get out here. There's a need. There's a need for outreach to our community. These corporations, it's not a matter of, again, it's not as much about reach as it is touch.
The other thing I want to share,
I just want to.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff. Just
the real quick point. I think also is basically tying into this book right here, Good to Great. It has a concept called BHAG vision, big, hairy, audacious goal, because we have to find a way to work together. One of the things I want to point out, a lot of people want to talk about where the opportunity is. The opportunity is listening to the government, who got trillions of dollars that they're spending, and they're going to spend for small business. But in many cases, the slices are so large, you're going to have to partner and joint venture with people, and you need to be mutualistic in reference to your approach. When you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, that means you have a goal that's so big, everybody can see their slice and know there's still some left over. You can't have where, some get a little slice, some get a medium slice, some get a big slice. No, everybody gets a big slice, but everybody got to work together. We got to be a team. We got to be mutual in our focus so we can be synergistic in our profit. That's the summary right there.
All right. And I just want to quickly add to that, that our publication this year is dedicating itself to understanding what Jeff was talking about, economics. We're going to, as a matter of fact, our next issue, our spring issue, is going to have Robert K. Smith on the cover of our publication. This is the guy who paid everybody's tuition off at Morehouse College a few years ago. So we're going to have to break down what this American Rescue Act means to us. We're going to break down what infrastructure means to us. We're going to have to break down what opportunities and there are in transportation and for business as well as employment. So that's the services that we provide. And again, my book to offer, to hold up, is Og Medino's Greatest Salesman in the World. Greatest Salesman in the World. It's you can read it in an afternoon, but the sooner as a community we can grasp the value of sales and that we take on that vocation of sales, there's no stopping, and there's no end to the benefits. Jeff's got a lot of books.
I got a lot of books. That's right. See, but see, I invested in my knowledge. I invested in my business. Bottom line, this is a lot of information. in Think and Grow Rich, you had pointed out, Sister Woody, in regard to the fact of being part of a mastermind. But you know what? How can you talk about a mastermind if you don't know what a mastermind is? Well, that's
Hold that book up again. Hold it up again.
Think and Grow Rich. Come on, Adrian. You know about this book.
Yeah,
Come on, stop it, man.
Right. Okay.
Right?
All right, you guys are on fire. I have to say that one of the things that I've always heard about being in business is do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's
You
right.
guys are very passionate. I'm definitely passionate about my business, and I want to try to jump into some of the questions, and then we're going to kind of go around and have our last words. Some of the questions that came in the chat. I'm just going to start from the beginning. How important is a business plan? And should you do it yourself with a how-to book or work with a professional? Who wants to take that one?
I can start off with this. First of all, from my point of view, you can't get enough good information. One, the SBA has, go to the website, free, www.sba.gov. They have a whole section on just writing your business plan. And the first thing you do is do that executive summary, which is really a 2-page business plan. And it summarizes what you really are about. So I would go right in and learn about the executive plan and then talk about going further. The other thing, too, is we didn't talk enough about the various business development resources, the SBA, the SBDC, the SCORE. And basically, they have a magazine called the Small Business Resource Guide. And every state has it. And it has all the information about how to start your business, all the business development resources, including how to write your business plan. But bottom line, a friend of mine who wrote a book, her book was My Business Plan book. And it's by Lorana Edwards. Okay, Lorana Edwards, My Business Plan. It's real simple. She breaks it down, and you can go to it and find more about that. But basically, my thing is, yes, go to resources, and then I say to you, use the SBA, which is basically a resource, vast information, or the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, which has consultants who focus on financial planning, marketing, and your business plan. And then SCORE, Service Corps retired executives who basically coach you. But here's the thing, what you don't do. You do not go to the SBA, SBDC, or SCORE and say, help me, help me, help me, help me. No, you need to do some homework, do as far as you can, go as far as you can, write as much as you can, and then say, help me with taking it to the next level. Because they need to see that you got some skin in the game, that you did some homework, you try to do all that you can, and now you want somebody to assist you to bring you to the next level. That's it.
Absolutely. I think that having a how-to book is a great resource, especially if you're first starting out, to try to get some of the foundation laid out in the very beginning. But definitely going somewhere and having it reviewed in detail is an important part of the process. Adrian, did you want to step in on any of that, or do we want to go to the next question?
Well, I just want to say that I noticed a question that said, well, how do you start a business without any personal risk? And and so I'm just saying that, listen, let me tell you something. Just like you were saying about your daughter and her being exposed to this negative culture and stuff out here. The fact of the matter is I'm promoting positive values and ideals in a marketplace that's absolutely going in the opposite direction. This is not easy. This is not easy. This is not, I believe that the pendulum will turn to the better, over time, because the negative can't outlast the positive. But at the same time, there is a degree of risk in going into business and, your plans and everything else, which you should have. But at the end of the day, and Jeff, you will agree with me, because I would sit over the years, I used to sit with Jeff and his dad. We used to have breakfast at least once a week to just talk about business, because you have to remain curious at the very least. You have to, don't want to be ignorant, but you got to continue to ask, seek out wisdom, you see, because you don't have all the answers to everything. And at the same time, You have to be so connected with your vision and have, and then you're dealing in the area of faith, because you have to have faith in that which you do as a service to the people that you represent. You see, in other
Okay.
words, there was a time when people would say, "Hey, that brother, he's a credit to his race." You see, or "Hey, there goes a soul brother," or "There goes a soul sister." Those are people who got things done. You see, there's
Right.
not as much emphasis or value placed on that as much as it should be. And we
Mhm.
have to raise a generation of people, of young people who care. We're dealing with a cultural divide now that I don't think in our lifetime we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And we're at a point now where, when Jesus walked the earth, the living, just, everything just went on generation after generation. But now
Right.
we have to have an understanding that society has changed, and we're going to have to remaster the art of living in almost a single generation. I mean, I
Mm.
remember when color TVs came in, or there were telephone booths and so on and so forth. All of that's changed. But education, ethics, values, and ideals, they have to change with these times. So and again, you're going to have to risk something.
True.
There is something that you're going to have to risk,
Yeah.
but you got to pray to God too that what you're doing is what He wants you to do.
But,
And
Yes, I see that. I see
I'll
that.
add one thing.
One
If I
moment,
may,
Jeff. I see a
sorry.
comment that came in that everything in life worth something comes with the risk. Absolutely. Khadijah
Yeah,
Wallace
absolutely.
posted that. Go
But
ahead,
but
Jeff.
but the main thing I want to say that it's essential. You guys have heard me talk about loans, and you hear me talk about the SBA and knowing the vocabulary. Let me be real clear. Outside of a micro loan of $25,000 or less, when you go past $25,000, oh, believe you're going to sign everything. Your mama, your child, your dog, your cat, your rat, everything. And be clear, everybody,
you're right.
if you're going to go to another level of business, a real level of business beyond 25,000, and I mean, 25,000 ain't a whole lot of money when we talk about business.
Goes
You
fast.
have to have real estate. Let me say this again. You must have real estate. You cannot be a renter and not have and want $1 million loan or $100,000 loan. You gotta have some skin in the game. The skin they want is real estate. That means you gotta buy a house, you gotta buy a building, you gotta find a way. Now, before that, you gotta have your credit in order so you can buy the building. But that house, that building is required. Now let me go a little further, y'all. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. Don't you dare go into business without being on the same page as your significant other or your wife and your family. Because be clear, if you go into business and you get a business loan, you and your spouse will have to sign over everything you own if you are going to get this loan. And now I want to turn it over to Sister Woody, who can go in further detail about that, because that is the truth. Am I saying the right thing?
When you're talking about getting loans in any capacity, real estate, business, you definitely have to connect with your spouse, your married person when you're married. I will say that there is a lot to say about going into business when your family and your significant other or people around you do not support you. But entrepreneurship can sometimes be lonely. However, it's not something that you should be discouraged into doing if the people around you are not necessarily on board with it. Because there are many people who, it takes all types for the world to go around. There are many people in life that will work a 9 to 5, have a great retirement, and retire wealthy. But the entrepreneurial journey and building a business, something like creating money out of thin air and delivering a service that you're passionate about to help change people's lives, everyone does not understand that, and everyone cannot get behind it. but that does not
That's true.
mean that you don't move forward
That's
with
true.
it. Just because,
That's
like with Adrian, yeah, it's less and less books, it's less and less newspapers, but there is something about holding a paper in your hand and reading through it, a book, a magazine, being able to go back to it without having to bookmark it online. We're wondering how our eyes are going to be years and years from now from looking at all these screens. I'm still a paper and pencil person. I like to write things down. I like to use a paper calendar because there is something that happens when you hold something in your hands and when you
Amen.
write something with pen and paper and when you read something that it's tangible that you do not get from digital. You don't get it. It's just not the same. There are studies that have been done about when you write your goals down with a pen and paper, that it's something, there are processes that go through your mind, like connectivities that go through your mind that create and make that goal more accountable to you and more real to you, more achievable. So that's a little tangent I'm going off on. But what I do want to say is that building wealth, real estate is definitely a part of what building wealth is definitely a real estate is a part of building wealth. So definitely investing in real estate is an important part of your wealth building. It should be an important part of your wealth building strategy. I do want to get to some of the other questions that were listed. How do you raise capital without risking personal assets to jumpstart your business? What are banks looking for as a minimum to jumpstart your business? We have to be very brief on these responses because our time is definitely winding up.
Let me be real
Who
brief.
wants to
You ain't
take
getting no
that?
loan. You're not going to get a loan from a bank if you're not willing to put your own money up. You're not going to get money from a bank on any large scale if you're not willing to do a personal guarantee. It's just not going to happen. There's no way for you to basically escape responsibility of your financial commitment if you are going after a bank for a loan. That's as quick and as simple as I can make it. It's not possible. This is not a grant. This is a loan. And the first thing they want to know is how much skin you got in the game before you start asking me to put and invest money in you. If you're not willing to invest in you, how do you think I am going to invest in you?
Okay, good points. I do want to interject just really quickly, just going back to something that we said earlier, is that it's important to make sure that you have your records and things in order. Your accounting, your financial records are very important. It's important also to have a like digital paper trail, like not paying people out from cash and really trying to use your processes like merchant accounts and things like that, because banks and people who do investments are looking to see that you're able to have the money to pay it back. So if you cannot show that you have had profit on your tax returns, or perhaps that you have a certain number of income transactions going into your business through your merchant account, for example, that's the way that you're going to be able to raise capital, because they want to be able to see that you can pay it back and that you're a good risk. That's what anybody is looking for. The creditors are looking for to know if you can manage your credit properly. They want to see, if we give you $1,000, are you going to be able to pay it, or are you
Pay
going
it
to
back.
max it out to the $1,000 and then not be able to pay it? Can you manage it by, having the clients and being the expert in your business and actually doing those sales and getting those sales into your business so that you're not a risky person to invest in, or your business not at risk to invest in. Adrian, did you have anything you wanted to add before I move to the next question?
I wanted to say that it's important that, first of all, the information that's being laid out here about the fundamental rules of maintaining and staying in business are very important. And I'm encouraging people to even go further. First of all, I want to thank the Frontiers International for making this happen, because this is a really important conversation to have, because this is first of all, I think that it's important that we understand this is a conversation about the future. And it's more and more urgent that we have a long game. Yes, we can operate on the political cycles, but the long game is urgently important, because You want your business to survive the next guy who sits in office. You know, he may be there for 4 years or 6 years, whatever, but when he goes, so does your business. You know,
Amen.
you have to create sustainable relationships. One of the things, Andrea, is that you should be connected with organizations like the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, John Harmon's group. There's a bunch of resources there. People like yourself, Andrea and Jeff Dunn, and you know, you have to seek out and sincerely seek out advice and seek out knowledge and wisdom in these things. There's a saying that I take into consideration. You know, there are people who are smart, and then, you know, there are people who are wise. You know, you need to really try to balance both of those. You know, because to be smart doesn't necessarily mean that you're wise. And
That's
so there are the intangibles which make a business establish and grow that we have to become familiar with. When we talk about sales and service, those are basically intangibles. Now there's a product or a service. You know, you put out a good product, people will buy it. You put out you have a decent service, you're going to have to sell yourself, you know. But you know, it's important that you network, that you are listening to these kinds of conversations that we have today, and that you also place a value on teamwork. You don't do this by yourself. You do this as a team. And so, you know, this is the reason why I connect with Jeff on a regular basis, because it's teamwork. You know, he has some information and knowledge that I need, and there are others. There are many, many others. But the fact is that you are a part of a community, and you're a part of a community of people who are also focused on the future, on how we can build together and create opportunity for generations to come.
Yes, I mean, I'm hearing the overwhelming theme in this whole conversation, that it's about connecting, networking, building relationships, being of service, and being genuine in the support that you provide to your clients and to your community. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is any recommended books to get started in creating, funding, and maintaining your business?
Mm-hmm. I gave you a bunch of books, y'all.
So,
okay. So
Think and Grow Rich is an oldie but a goodie.
Classic. But another book is, and I don't have it here, is The Millionaire Next Door or The Millionaire Mind by Tom Stanley. Those books, I would say really audio books, because it really gives you a mindset of the thinking of millionaires. The average person doesn't even have a vague idea of the mindset of a millionaire, okay? And there is a way of thinking. A millionaire basically doesn't buy the brand new car. They buy the car that's 2-3 years old, okay? The millionaire doesn't basically, how can I say, have a whole lot of unnecessary debt. Credit cards to buy clothes and shoes. They may use credit cards to invest in their business, okay? I'm trying to say to you is basically the Millionaire Mind, the Millionaire Next Door is a mindset that you need to have. Also, I say to you that really, really going into this business plan and putting together your executive summary will make it clear in your mind of what you're trying to do, how much money that you're trying to make. I think one of the things that you got to understand, how much money are you really trying to make in the next 6 months or the next year or the next 2 years or the next 3 years? And now here's the other key question. All right, so how you going to get there? What type of sales and marketing are you going to make that happen? Okay, how are you going to get there? Now, there are 3 ways to go into business. You can start it, you can buy it, or you can merge with somebody already there. And when you buy it, you could that means also the option of franchise. But now franchise is a whole that's a workshop all by itself. But what
it
I'm trying to say to you
is Jeff. So we're going to move on to our
all
next question,
by itself.
You're going into a whole other conversation. I will just mention another classic book It's just really about concepts around money and how you look at things. The concept is really entrepreneurship within that book. It's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Because I think it breaks down complex
There you go,
complex
Jeff.
topic, which is
I
around
like it.
building wealth. Yeah, there it
All
is.
right.
All right,
But
so
also the
I'm
game
gonna go on
also. No. This game ties right into the book, and it's basically Monopoly on steroids. It ties into all the principles of Rich Dad Poor Dad. I can't say enough. If you play this game one time, you will begin to understand there's the rat race and then there's the fast track. The difference between those who work for somebody and those who work on their own is two different worlds.
Yep, that book
Amen.
definitely breaks down the concept very easily. I'm going to move on just to the next question. Just because of our time, I want to give each of us an opportunity to talk about what we have coming up. But this is the last question I see in the chat, which is, when should a business owner seek investors? I think we talked about that a little bit, but Adrian, did you want to try to, when should business owners seek investors?
Well, the thing as a publisher, there's two things. There's, we have to pursue sales at all times to raise money. Investors, I would have to take on investors as they come to us, as opposed to just putting my attention on going out and getting investors. I know a gentleman with a publication, and he's been publishing his magazine for a number of years, but he had an investor, and his investor at a certain point when the economy went under in 2008 decided he no longer wants to invest. So his business went under because he based his business on the investors. We have to base our business on our advertisers. Prudential's an investor, they're advertising with me. Wells Fargo's an investor, they advertise with me. Two Fish and Five Loaves is an investor, they advertise with us. So it depends on how you want to come off, or how you want to jump into or take your leap of faith. Do you want to do it on one side by going out and raising money and getting investment? I mean, it's a good way to do it, and you can do it. Or have you built a bank of goodwill from other people over the years that will say, man, I know this guy from back when he was at BLS and LIB, and man, he made money for us. Oh, you're starting a publication that goes out to the black church? Oh man, I'm down. Boom. You see, and you maintain that investment by offering a quality service and maintaining quality relationships. So
Absolutely.
I think that we need to always keep an emphasis on the fact that money is a byproduct of success. It's not that money is success, it's a byproduct of it. So with a sincere heart, you go out and you develop and build business, and it can be done. We have to, I mean, you want access to capital, man, fix the wheel on that lawnmower and go knock on some doors. That's access to capital. Everything doesn't have to be way at the top. I don't want to, what do you say? I don't want a job. I want a position. We don't want to go there, because that's not sustainable. What sustainable is growth. Look at the landscaping business, for example. That's an industry now that one time we more or less reigned, but no longer. See, because you can't take your eye off of the fundamental relationships that you have with your community and your people, and you have to at least be able to satisfy, in my business anyway, to satisfy the needs of the people that read my magazine.
Amen.
Absolutely.
You see, or that go online to thepositivecommunity.com and check out what we have to offer. Is it quality? Is this what you want to be a part of? Do you want to be a part of a movement for positive community change? Why, of course you do. So, so what do they say? Like you said earlier, a high tide lifts all boats.
That's right.
Very
Yeah, so I will say just on the question, I think that, Adrian, you made such a great point at saying that it's really about those relationships that you build. And the timing of when you seek an investor is sometimes when you need it and sometimes when you don't need it. But the likelihood that it will be there when you need it is about those relationships that you've already formed and that you build and that you nurture. And then, when it's time for you to seek investors, it could be when you're growing, when you're trying to add staff, people to work for you, to hire actual employees. If you're trying to expand your business with real estate, those are definitely times when you're in the growth and scale point of your business is the time to seek investors. But you don't seek investors just decide one day, I think I need some money. No, it's about building those relationships. It's really about having a long range relationship. And these days it makes it a little more difficult because we're not going into the bank and seeing our bankers and talking to our mortgage person. Everything is so digital and online and over the phone and things like that. But it's still possible for you to establish those relationships, connect with the people who already have those relationships, and see if there's some synergy there. That's an important
true.
way that you can also leverage your platform and leverage, like I always tell business owners, when you're first starting out a business, tell everybody. Tell everybody you're starting a business. It's not something that you should keep a secret. It's something that you want to share out and share widely. Everybody is not your client. Everybody is not going to be behind you. But the more people that know, the better, right? Okay, so we're going to
True.
try to wrap it. I think this was a great conversation. So many great
Mm.
points and nuggets. And I hope that the people who are watching have, I've learned a lot. I'm definitely going to be connecting with Jeffrey and Adrian after at some point after our time together. But I just want to give each of you an opportunity to take maybe just about a minute just to talk a little bit about what you have coming up. Something, if you want to share your website, don't share all of them, yeah, because Jeffrey's got 25,000 businesses going over there. Share your website.
Touche.
share, share
Touche.
your share your best way to get in contact and something exciting that you have coming up. Who's going to go first?
Oh, Adrian, go. You go first.
Okay. Well, I'm
Adrian.
excited for again what this pandemic has brought to us is new adventures in online and social media for us. The fact that we want to be a full service Black consumer marketing company brings to the fact that we do special events throughout the year. Particularly, one of our signature events is our Great American Emancipation Day Awards Banquet and Celebration, which takes place on January 1st. One of the most important dates on the American calendar is the day that the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect. And no, it's not Lincoln freed the slaves. No, we're the only people in this country who have a story that's consistent with the Hebrew slaves leaving Egypt. As God's hand was on Pharaoh, so was his hand on Lincoln. So we're liberated sons and daughters of the Most High God, and we celebrate every year on January 1st, Emancipation Day. The other thing is, again, positive community radio is a real important feature because we have to keep positive music matters. Simple and straightforward. It depends on it's what you consume that
What's your website?
whether
Say your website.
that's right. And you can get that on on thepositivecommunity.com. Go to our website. You can look up the past issues. We're very happy to feature our next installment of our economic justice issue, and that will feature Robert K. Smith and some other very important people. We just hosted a roundtable with Mr. Smith, with Reverend Al Sharpton, as well as John Rogers of Ariel Capital. Where we did a town hall last week talking about balancing business and business
Adrian,
opportunities for our people moving forward.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
please
everybody needs to
visit
go
us
to
at
your website.
thepositivecommunity.com. If you ever want to reach me, I am Adrian at thepositivecommunity.com. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And thank you, Yoke
Thank
Fellows.
you so much.
Mhm.
All right, Jeffrey, you want to take a moment to, you've been plugging away all your businesses and things. So how do we get in contact with you? Or do you have a website you'd like to share?
First, let's start the website. The business website is www. Business, BUSINESS 1 ONE stop STOP shop SHOP.com. The Business One Stop Shop, right here located in Plainfield, New Jersey. Again, the various resources I offer is because I am a director of a business incubator, and my job is to keep businesses linked to the vast resources. Legal Shield, bottom line is you can't be going into business without having a resource of access to a lawyer, okay, to look over your contracts and go over your legal matters. And it gives you an opportunity to pay maybe $50 to $100, and you could have, again, a AAA of, again, legal resources. It's like Uber. It has disrupted the entire legal game, but also has a part in reference to the identity theft, which is it is absolutely vital that you have this resource to cover you and protect you. I can't say enough. I'm working with an organization that basically is going to help me tie into creating a workshop, financial management for non-financial managers. And I'll be posting that on my website soon. But the main thing I want to say thank you, Sister Woody, for allowing us and containing us and managing us, okay, through this workshop. It's hard talking to these passionate men who love their business. But also I want to say thank you, Frontier, for giving this opportunity to educate the community in reference to these things. We only gave you a little bit, but I thank you for the opportunity you gave us.
Yes, you're welcome, and I appreciate both of you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the passion that you have behind it. I will say that for me, the key points that have come from this afternoon with you guys is definitely leveraging those relationships, building those relationships, connecting with your community. It's not about the money, it's about the service. The money will come, but the money is not everything. All right. I will share that I have all kinds of exciting things always coming up, but just visit me on my website at awfinancials, that's with an S.com, awfinancials.com. There you can get a free financial assessment, you can get a free credit guide, and you can also schedule some time to get on my calendar to chat with me if you're interested in starting a business or you just want some support on a financial matter. Then you can go to that website. Again, it's awfinancials.com. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to...
One more thing I want to say. I'm sorry, if I may. I think it'd be important that everybody ties into us through LinkedIn. We're all on LinkedIn. And if you want to know more about us all, that's a great way to connect with us and link with us and expand your network, as we said, which is so vital to our entrepreneurship. And this is not a job, everybody. This is a lifestyle. So FYI, thank you very much.
We're accepting LinkedIn connections for the next 24 hours. So no questions asked. Find us on LinkedIn, connect with us, build your network. All right. So now I'm going to turn it back over. I thank you so much to the Frontiers International chapter, Plainfield chapter, for inviting us to sit on this panel. And thank you very much. I'm turning it back over to you. And I hope you all had a great time with us and enjoy your afternoon. Be blessed.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much, Jeff and Adrian. Certainly a wealth of information has been provided. We bring you these lectures and these broadcasts as part of our Westry Horne lecture series in an effort to really underpin and underscore the importance of building up one another. And that's how we achieve our mission, which is advancement through service. So this is a service that we provide. We've done this for a number of years. Of course, as mentioned before, our scholarship program is one of the other ways that we provide for students and young people in our communities, the communities that we serve, giving them opportunities to advance their education and to attain success in areas that would otherwise not be available to them. So we thank you again for joining us on today. I want to mention a couple things. just before we close, because I want to make sure that the information that is available to you is given to you, and certainly is not left out on account of me. Our next broadcast will be in May, on May 15th, where we will be discussing Malcolm X Revisited. Malcolm X Revisited. And that broadcast will be led by Zaid Muhammad. He will be coming to us and leading that discussion. Certainly, some powerful information will be shared there as well. Again, if you would like to partner with us and support our efforts, whereby we help to bridge the gap of opportunity for young people in our communities, often those in communities where opportunity is fewer and is less accessible. I do want to mention that we are a 501c3 organization. You can donate to our scholarship fund, doing so using Zelle at phone number 732-470-4207, or you can do so on PayPal to jess.marshall@verizon.net. Jess Marshall is our treasurer, or you can mail a check to P.O. Box 428, Plainfield, New Jersey, 07061. Any checks that you send should be made to Frontiers International Plainfield Area Club. Knowing that that is long, you may also write Plainfield Frontiers Club. Thank you again so much for joining us on today. We hope to see you again soon. You can access this recording on Facebook and on YouTube. The way that you're watching it now, it will remain available to you in the future, as we will not be removing this broadcast because this information is necessary for many people who need to know. So again, thank you for joining us on today. As we get ready to sign off, just know that we will continue to push the envelope to make certain that our young people have advancement opportunities through the service that we provide and through our partnership with community members like you. We thank you for your support. We look forward to seeing you again. Until then, have a good day.